of the press to the in front of your television screen. This is the headliner. My name is Monica Chanda.
And my name is Kurtley Gwindi. Yes, of course, we delve into the stories that dig deeper with regards to everything that has been making headlines throughout the week. We bring you the writers of the stories, the content creators themselves, and of course, these are the expertise with regards to everything that has to do with the media industry. And today we have a Zimbabwean journalist. Yes, we are talking about none other than Lattwell Nyangu, who is helping us dissect one of the stories that has been causing uproar in the streets around Harare. But before we do that, Monica, I know we have to get into the business of the day.
Definitely, we have so much to tackle today. There's so much that has been happening during the week, and Lattwell, I'm sure you will be helping us analyze a lot of those stories. The press is abuzz. Let's start off with the headline from the Herald. The government declares war with drug abuse. Now, this has been quite a story leading headline as the battle against drug abuse is proving to be quite intensive. And Cabinet actually did agree that all idle provincial COVID-19 isolation centers will be converted into rehabilitation centers to curb drug abuse. So I think that's a very noble cause. And we also move to the daily news of 5 October, which reads, Zim hit by fresh cholera flare up. Now, the country is facing a fresh cholera outbreak, which has seen at least 126 people in the country losing their lives to the dangerous diarrheal disease. So we are urging you, clean hygiene is also important. It's just some of those tips that should be brought to the fore. And the Newsday tagged a fresh headache for Chamisa. Opposition party leader Nelson Chamisa facing fresh headaches, and after activists, they made moves to recall 15 members of parliament and 17 councillors saying they had ceased to be party members. Now, this is going to be something that I think analysts should be getting into. And finally, let's look at, not quite finally, there's a Financial Gazette of 5 October, Kurtley, ditching US dollar demands, financial certainty. Economic experts called for clear roadmap with necessary fundamental conditions and avert market chaos. A lot has been happening in terms of the monetary and fiscal space, and hopefully we will get some of those financial analysts also coming on board later episodes so that we also get an appreciation of what's happening in terms of financial news. The final story, not quite the final story, but this is the story that got people talking. You're talking in WhatsApp groups, you're talking on X, Facebook, you name it. It's a story from the H Metro on 2 fathers, 2 mothers, 2 birth certificates, and 1 child in the center of that storm. So it's an innocent kid at the center of the story. Sadly, we should be having quite an interesting conversation there. Join us in the second segment, and we should be talking more about that, and we should be having Lattwell giving us an appreciation of these news stories. We go for a short break. This is the headliner. Welcome back. This is the second segment of the headliner, and if in case you missed out on the first segment, well, you can always catch it on our Facebook page. I'm sure we should be giving you some of that headliner and give you a recap. But the story at the center of everyone's
1 child left at the center of the storm, Monica. And yes, indeed, you can catch up with our stories. That is a ZBC News Online on all platforms. And one of the stories that has been making the headlines, we are paying attention to 2 fathers. Monica, you closed off with 2.
Ooh.
That's 2 fathers, 2 mothers,
and 1 child.
2 birth certificates and 1 child. Yes, we are taking a delve into that story, and to help us analyze this and obviously give us a better appreciation, we did introduce our guest, Lattwell Nyangu, who is a seasoned journalist within the field and the media industry in Zimbabwe. Lattwell, welcome once again, and tell us, how does this story unfold?
Thank you so much. I think from the headline you would see that the story is interesting, as well as it's a very sad story, because there's a child there in the center stage of the storm. In terms of the story, you look into it that there is a tussle, two forces fighting, the ex versus the father of the child. And the father is trying to run away from the responsibility, which is the sad side of the story. While the mother of the child is also looking forward to have the father take responsibility of the child. But however, the father went on to be a fraudulent father then. So I think that's the most interesting part, why he decided to do so. So the headline is quite pregnant with the details there. Yeah. So, but if you go down the story, it's a sad story.
Okay, absolutely. Because we're looking at a situation where this is just a truck driver.
Yes.
And how does the fraudulent capacity then come about in such a situation? And we are also paying attention to the fact that are there any legal with regards to a term that is being served to him, or what is happening on the ground?
Okay. When it comes to maintenance, you find out that the fathers should be responsible. But we tend to have irresponsible fathers. They want to run away from taking care of their children. So in this case, this father is a truck driver. He's gainfully employed, if you look into the circumstances. He's paid, and the employer is paying him well, and the maintenance is being deducted direct from the workplace. So in this case, he was trying to evade the responsibility, thereby looking for another birth certificate for the same child who has another birth certificate. He went on to look for his brother so that he pretend or purport to be the father of the child. Then he went on to talk to the second wife. Then they become the second couple on this child. So
it's a fiasco, isn't it, man?
Very.
It is.
So
it is chaotic. It's chaotic, to say the least. And I know you said it's pregnant. It's a story that's pregnant, pun intended,
yeah,
or
absolutely,
not.
Absolutely.
But Lattwell, how do two couples register one child? And does this mean the system did not manage to actually capture it? How is it the system doesn't manage to actually realize there's a problem here? Because this is unacceptable.
Indeed, it's unacceptable. No wonder why I said this guy has become a fraudster overnight. According to the story, the brother is actually expressing ignorance, that he didn't know that his brother took his ID. So it seems as if the father took the ID without the knowledge of this brother and went on to the registrar's office. Then the other birth certificate was recorded in Nyanga. So
Wow.
probably he went into another station and pretended as if it was lost or some sort.
Oh, wow.
Nyanga, curtly.
Oh, wow.
Which just goes to show, if he went all the way to Nyanga,
Yeah.
obviously this means if we are to look at home affairs, they need to take deal with some of these plugs. They need to actually look at what's happening in these provincial centers, or just the provinces as a whole. The systems need to be looked into. Do you think there should be some sort of setup? I know with the VID, they have
absolutely.
cameras now placed.
Oh, yes,
Should we be
absolutely.
having cameras placed even when we're having birth certificate registration and so forth? That kind of
Absolutely.
system.
Yeah, I don't deny that, or I don't disagree with that. I'm sure there are some issues which need to be considered after this story. You find out there are some loopholes, and I'm sure we are going to have a follow-up of this and
Absolutely.
see what are the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's look at the maintenance aspect. I mean, this is evading, escaping, paying a certain amount. How much was this amount?
I didn't go deeper into the amounts,
Yeah.
but from my experience, I've seen a lot of stories, especially when it comes to civil court. The maintenance issue is a very serious issue which need to be followed up, because a lot of guys, a lot of men, they are steering children outside the wedlock, and they don't want to be responsible. No wonder why these women, they go to the civil court to seek for the protection of the court. So in this case, the figures may not be big, because
Absolutely.
you'll be asked to say how much can you offer, and say probably 50, and how much.
And I mean, we're looking at a truck driver
Yeah.
who earns a certain amount, and Yeah, let's. I mean, for the sake of the show, was the DNA test done?
Should we call
do we
Mugabe?
actually? Yeah, that one character who's known on our local screens for doing DNA tests.
Well, on this story, there's no need for the DNA stuff because the man is admitting that
the child is his. Yeah.
But he was only trying other ways to say, no, I'm sure the money is too much, but since he has other children. So he wanted to say the responsibility or the deduction from his money, it should be less.
It should be less.
So he was trying to go that way.
And he was
because
trying
the
to
father, the brother is said to be self-employed. So at court, when you say I'm self-employed, I only earn $50, then the court will say probably you pay $20.
$20.
But that's the other issue. We see a lot of maintenance cases that come to the fore, and we know a lot of the press report on this. And I think we don't really take serious maintenance cases. And even as journalists, do we do much in terms of delving deeper into some sort of investigations in some of these maintenance cases and going deeper into some of those stories to say, are we faced with cases where we have people who allegedly say they cannot afford this maintenance, but they actually can, and then sometimes they fraudulently present certain paperwork that says they don't earn a certain amount. Yeah. So this is the onus also supposed to be on the journalism fraternity to go deeper into these matters?
I agree with you more because it's our duty as the media to actually help a society that is in need of us.
Absolutely.
In this case, when it comes to the maintenance, we will see that there will be vulnerable children there. But imagine a father saying, I don't have money to take care of my children. It's an issue of concern. So I'm sure many people, they're doing all these dramas, the issues, but we're trying all our best to uncover all these issues. Like in this case, you find out that there are so many people there who are out there who don't want to take care of their children. And I'm sure we are trying our best. Although at times some of these stories, the circumstances may not be coming out.
Absolutely.
But we are doing our best to do so.
Lattwell, from being vulnerable as children, from us being vulnerable with time, thank you so much for joining us here on our segment, which took a delve deeper with regards to this headline, and most definitely you can catch up with more of these stories. Mo, I know we have so much more coming up.
I see what you did there with the wording. It's a wordplay, but Lattwell Nyangu, a senior Zimbabwe journalist, just taking us through his thoughts from a journalistic point of view, sentiments to that story that has been quite an uproar and bringing center to attention issues of maintenance. But join us, the third segment. This is the headliner, and we'll have another media expert, and we'll get into his take, the story of the day. Don't go back. Welcome back to the third and final segment of the headliner, and this is what we call the editor's choice segment. We have an in-house editor, Ian Roma, and it's good to have you in studio. Welcome.
Thank you, Mo. It's great to be here.
The headliner. So, as our editor of choice this week, and it is the editor's segment, what do you bring for us? Do you come bearing good gifts?
Absolutely. And I know Mo, before he delves into it, naturally, I actually want to take this time to actually introduce Mr. Ian Roma, who comes to us as a sports maestro. Because if you have been catching up with our programming here on ZBC, you do know for a fact that that is all things to do with sport when it comes to Mr. Ian Roma. And I do know for a fact he's not going to prove me wrong. Mr. Ian, what is the headliner today?
I've just been elevated. I'm now a mister. In sport, there is no mister, but I'll accept the title.
Coach. Okay, let's go with coach. Let's go with coach.
But
he's dressed the part.
I bring good news and great news. It's exciting times for Zimbabwe. We are back in international football. Remember, there was an 18-month ban because of third-party interference in football, and we're excited that Zimbabwe is back in international football. The Warriors are back. The Mighty Warriors also back at the COSAFA Women's Championship.
I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Obviously, because
exciting times.
if we're talking about Zimbabwe football. There has been so much debate in terms of football administration, from issues around facilities to issues of remuneration, so much to talk about in terms of football and to say, let's get our football fixed. And then there's a normalization committee. But maybe we'll talk about that later. Let's come back to our mighty warriors.
Yeah.
Preparation, and for the longest of times, it has been said women's football is not supported as much.
Well, I don't want to bring controversy where there is good news. I think let's leave that in the past. It's associated with the dark past, which also has resulted in Zimbabwe being banned from international football. This is we've turned a new page, a new leaf, and we're giving the Normalization Committee a chance. And from what we saw, yes, just a few weeks to prepare, but the preparations were smooth. And we also do understand that the Mighty Warriors have got a new sponsor in terms of the kit. They've moved from Umbro to Puma. So that should be a good sign that the ladies will be.
Papa.
This is the headliner.